In light of these recent tragic events in Dayton, El Paso, and Gilroy, we are all at a crossroads in our life where if we go down one road, we can make things way, way worse. Or we can go down another road and actually have a solution to make things better. Today, I'm going to show you a solution that the media certainly isn't going to tell you about, but a solution that you can act on and make the world a better place starting today. Coming up. Welcome to The Power of Quiet, showing you a different approach to creating a better world. And right now, the world really needs something better. Right now, the world is literally tearing itself apart. And like it or not, we're all part of this. Our lives are wrapped up and can easily be swept away by all the craziness that's going on. Now, back when I was younger, it used to be that I would hear about acts of terror, acts of violence, like somebody bombing a cafe or shooting up a street market. But it was always isolated incidents that were few and far between and always on the other side of the world, never close to home. But now, these things are happening much and more rapidly and right at our doorstep, wherever we happen to live. They're showing up in our face. So what do we do about this? How can we move our society, our world, back together and make it safe for all of us? Now, the big problem that's going on, and this is something you can see firsthand. You can see it in the media, you can see it with all the politicians. Everybody's playing the blame game. Everybody's pointing at somebody else. Trump is to blame. The left is to blame. Guns are to blame. This group of people or that group of people. Everybody's pointing fingers at somebody else. And what are they doing? They're saying that that person or that thing is making me feel unsafe and out of control, therefore that thing must stop. So what we are doing is we're trying to control the world out there so that we feel safer. Now, first of all, that doesn't work. That's the game that the whole world has been playing for ages. And if we just look at our history of trying to control others, trying to change the world, you can't do it. You can't control what somebody thinks, what decisions that they make. That's their business. And your feelings, your fear that gets stirred up, if you're walking around worried that this thing might happen or that thing might happen, that's your business. And see, that's the point that we all miss when we start playing this blame game. We miss out on taking responsibility for our own feelings. Now here's the thing. Your fear that gets stirred up, that gets triggered by these events, that's something that you can control, that you can let go of. And here's the thing. When you take responsibility for your fear and let it go, what happens is you get to a place where you're no longer pushed around by your feelings, where you're no longer reacting to situations, but instead you're in a place of calm, a place of presence. It's a very positive place where you have clear thinking. And if you choose to take action, you take clear action rather than reactive action. And also, from this place, if you do take action, you take effective action. Whereas when you're reacting, your actions are not effective. You're bouncing all over the place, creating more chaos. So how do you let your fear go? Well, first, acknowledge it. Take a look to see if what's going on in the world with these mass shootings, with protests and demonstrations and even little bits of violence that are perpetrated by both the left and the right are getting you worried about what's going on. Whether that worry and fear is, by physical threat, you're worried about what might happen to you physically, or it could be a financial threat. What's going on can disrupt the economy, ruin your business, ruin your livelihood. So take acknowledgement for the fear that you have. And here's the thing. The fear that you have, it's a feeling. And it's your feeling. It doesn't belong to anybody but you. You're the one who's feeling it, which means it's your responsibility. Now, don't go making the mistake of blaming someone else. They make me feel that way. It's because of them that I have fear. That fear is a feeling. It is yours. Your responsibility. Now, I'm going to show this to you. And I'm going to show you how to remove it so you can really see the joke that you've been playing on yourself. And you can see for yourself firsthand there really is nothing to be afraid of once you let go of your fear. After all, like they say, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. All right? So, are you worried? Do you have fear? Now measure the fear that you've got. On a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the most fearful and 0 being the least fearful. Now notice, when you are looking at that fear, when you're feeling it, when you're experiencing it, you don't like the fear. You want the fear to go away. And that's the problem with blaming others, because you're saying is, I want to control the situation out there. I want to change you so I don't have to feel this feeling. Now, here's the thing. They got nothing to do with it. They're doing what they're doing. It's your responsibility if you have fear over that. That fear is your feeling. And if you're waiting for them to change, good luck. And if you try to change them, guess what? You're going to create more problems than solutions. So the different approach here is to change yourself. Now, the first step, was acknowledging the fear. The second step is now taking responsibility and exercising the courageousness to say, you know what? I'm going to let go of my fear. For good or for bad, I'm going to let that feeling go. Now, are you courageous enough to drop your fear? Now, how do you drop your fear? It's simple. Now, if you look at the simple fact that when the fear comes up, you don't like the fear, you want it to go away. So when the fear comes up, your reaction is to say no to that fear. But that doesn't make the fear go away, does it? So since saying no doesn't work, then let's do something radically different. Are you willing to do something radically different? All right? So now look at the fear and say yes to it. It's that simple. Just look at that fear, look at that feeling, and say yes to it. That's it. Y-E-S. And say yes to that fear a little bit more. And say yes to that fear even more. And say yes to that fear even more. And say yes to that fear even more. And say yes to it even more. Just look and say yes to it. And more. and even more. And say yes to it even more. All right, now measure yourself again on a scale of 0 to 10 and see if you moved. See if that fear is a little bit less. And notice if you feel a little bit lighter. You notice the difference? Now right there is the first step to letting go of your fear, letting go of your feelings. Now, how much more effective would you be if you had no fear pushing you around? Even if a situation was going, ape crazy right in front of you. Now, look at, a crazy situation happening right in front of you, and in one scenario, you're afraid, versus another scenario where you have no fear, but you're courageous instead. Now, which of those situations would you be able to act proactively and positively? The one where you're courageous, right? And right here, you just showed that by letting go of that little bit of fear, you can do it. And that lighter feeling, that's the courageousness now that's coming in. And it's lighter. That's showing you that you're moving up to a higher energy, more positive, and more effective. Now take a look at any more fear that you have right now. Now think about a situation that you wouldn't want to walk into, be a part of if it went down. Maybe someone pulling out a gun, starting shooting people around you, and you're in the middle of it. Or think about the whole economy tanking, going into ruins. Or another world war breaking out. Possible. And see if that brings up some concern, worry, fear. And just measure it on a scale of 0 to 10. Now, the good thing about measuring it here is it gets you to quantify it. Look at it objectively rather than subjectively. Because a lot of times it's just we have fear and we don't know what to do about it. And then we thrash around trying to resolve it. But if you look at it and say, okay, I'm at a 7. The moment that you put a number on it, you're taking ownership. And now you're looking at it going, okay, here's this thing called fear. Now look right at that fear and just say yes to it. See, this is a great thing. It's so simple. All you have to do is just say yes. Say yes to that fear even more. And say yes to that fear even more. And say yes to it even more. And 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 say yes to it even more. Now measure yourself again. See if you moved. And see if you feel a little bit lighter. Again, that's you moving up in energy. Getting more positive, more courageous. Getting out of the reactivity of the feelings. Now, if you're feeling lighter, let's use this to our advantage and bring up the rest of the fear, because now you see you can let it go. So call up some more fear that you have. You know it's lurking down there. Now call it up. Say, fear, come on up. Try it out. Fear, come on up. I welcome you, fear. I'm ready for you. And let it come up. And notice, all this while, literally your whole life, ever since you were taught to fear things. Don't touch fire. Don't go near that. Don't do that. that you were repressing fear. And can you see for your whole life you've been holding the fear down, trying to keep it at bay. But in effect, you've been holding on to it and collecting it. Now let go of pushing it down and let it come up. And welcome it up. And now just step back. Get out of the way. Not literally, just virtually. Just kind of move out of the way and let the fear leave. Just let it pass through. You could even imagine like a door opening right in front of you, and that fear just going right on out the door. And just watch that fear leave. And watch it leave even more. And 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 notice how you feel now. Do you feel even lighter? And do you feel more strengthened now? More positive, more of a sense that I'm okay, I can take care of myself. No matter what's going on, I can deal with it. And it might not be, something logical, but it's just a feeling, a sense, an intuition of, yeah, I can deal with that. Not a problem. See, that is positive thinking, and that's natural to you. See, inside of us, we're all positive, we're all loving, and we're all powerful. But all that's covered up by the fear and all of our other negative feelings, which is our responsibility, and it's our responsibility to remove that. And when we do, when we let go of the fear, notice your thinking changes, your attitude changes. And that is where you find a solution. That is how you can really change the world, because now you're doing it from a place of solidity, of safety inside. Where I don't need you to change for me to feel safe. I'm safe already. But I see that what you're doing isn't the right thing. Let me demonstrate a better way of doing it. See, by taking care of ourselves, now we can become leaders. And the most effective leaders lead through demonstration. It's not, don't do as I say, do as I do. Right? So we fix ourselves. That's how we fix the world. And we do it one step at a time, one release at a time. So notice how you feel. Do you feel a bit stronger? Do you see the fact that the feelings of fear, that's your feelings, your responsibility, and you can let it go? And how effective would you be to continue dropping your fear? And if you had no fear, what could you do? I mean, just in your life, if you had no fear, what goals would you have the courage to go ahead and reach out for? What would you dare to have in your life if you dropped all of your fear? And if you had no fear, would anything that goes on in the world bother you? Wouldn't it be worth it to live that way? Now, you've already proved it to yourself. All that you need to do is just keep doing these simple things. Now, I've got lots of videos on this channel. I'll link some right here on this video so you can continue practice letting go of your fear. I'm going to show you how to let go of all of your fear. And if you want to dive even deeper, you can go to my website, powerofquiet.com, put in your email address, and you can learn how to master your emotions and master your life at a much deeper level too. But practice this, let go of this nonsense, and most of all, take responsibility. Don't blame others for how you feel. You are in charge of your life. Prove it to yourself.